editing live stream where you submit your images before the stream starts using the links below, and I edit them here for you live using DxO Photolab 8. Excuse me. Sorry, my voice is a little bit hoarse today, but I got a lot of images today, so I'm going to go through them pretty quickly. But the intent of the stream is just to show you the tools in DxO Photolab 9 and how to use them and give you some ideas on editing. And also I give you a little feedback on how I would compose the shot or shoot it differently sometimes. But it's not in any means, by any way or means, critique. It's just simply how I would shoot the same scene if I were taking the picture, just with the idea of just sharing ideas. And as always, if you get a chance, if you've already edited your picture, I'd like to see it. So you can submit those during the stream, and then we'll compare your edit to what I did, and then we can kind of learn from each other as well. So, and also, I am an affiliate for DxO. So if you don't have DxO Photolab 9 and you're a new customer, I do have my links down below, including a 15% discount code, which is very generous of DxO to provide for my viewers. So take advantage of that if you can. Photolab 9 introduced the new AI uh, selection tools, which have been great for the most part. They're still working out a few bugs with the NVIDIA graphic cards on Windows PCs at least. So I've been very lucky the last few times I've done this. I haven't had to reset or restart Photolab because of a crash, but that may happen. So just be aware of that, and that they're aware of it and they're working on it. But hopefully, I did see a new driver for NVIDIA come out uh, when I was looking yesterday, but I didn't install that yet because what I have now is working pretty well with one exception. But okay, let's go ahead and get started. And oh, I see, Serge, you bought an 01 Mark II and a 12 to 40. Awesome, awesome. And you sold your A7 III. No kidding. Wow. Okay. Well, congratulations on your new camera. And Serge, you've come a long, long way since we first got to know each other over the years. I really love the images that you're producing, particularly your woodland photography. But it seems like you're expanding more into other genres as well. Okay. Let me see if I can get. I'm sorry. I have to arrange my screens a little bit. I literally walked in my house like 15 minutes ago from a photo walk. Uh, but I don't know why my voice is hoarse. Probably because I only slept for about 3 hours. Okay. This needs to go. I don't know where that window went. Okay, that one's not important anyway. So perfect. All right. Uh, okay, we'll start here. We have one here. Looks like from Chicane, and basically an architectural. So I'll walk you through my workflow as well for those of you that might be new here. Um, you know, I generally like to look at the overall composition and exposure when I look at the image raw, and see if I need to make any kind of global changes that way. Like if I want to crop in a little bit or straighten the horizon, and then the exposure, if it's underexposed or overexposed, I might make adjustments there globally before I start editing. But in this case, the composition is already very tight. I'm just thinking, do I really need any of this? So, and I'm sorry, one more thing I always do is I have a basic preset which applies optical corrections and denoising, to the image. I always try to do that first. Um, and then I start thinking about the composition. I'm just debating if I might want to do a square on this and just get rid of this foreground. Um, I don't know if that works. Let me do a little perspective. Also with DxO, it's important that you do perspective corrections. Like I've clicked the box over here, or really anything in this panel, cropping, horizon, perspective, distortion. You want to try and do all of that before you actually start doing any local adjustments. Let me try 5 by 4. Just come in a little bit tighter. I think I think that works for me a little better because there's basically 3 layers, right? We have this bridge here in the front, the building here in the back, in the midground, then just the sky as a background. You just come in just a little bit off the top. And I'm always conscious of my corners and edges. So when I'm cropping in just a little because there's a little bit of a window here that I'm going to take out because it's just kind of a slight distraction. And also, I want to make this pretty much front and center. Um, yeah, right about. I think that works right there. Okay, so there's a little bit of a haze, and let me just try a little bit of clear view. So I'm just doing global corrections here. Okay, that cleaned up nicely. Um, Now, in terms of color and white balance, that's another thing I look at very early on, and it's a little bit cool. So I'm just going to take this and just drop it in here. This is more or less a white or a gray right in here. Let me try this. Okay, that looks better because most of the image is in the shade. All right, now let's go over to the local adjustments. I'm going to use the AI tool here and just use the pointer and just select the sky. It automatically selected the sky. It left a little bit out in here, so I'm going to grab that as well. And then also here. Just to make sure I got it all covered. Okay, good. And then let's try some clear view to see if there's any detail we can extract out of the sky. Not really. It's not much there, but what I will do is maybe just cool it off a little bit. Just give it a little bit of a bluish hue. There we go. Not too much because it is a very warm image. And then I think some other local adjustments. I'm in the local adjustments panel. Let me see if I can select these windows. So I'm going to start a new mask. I'm just going to select these windows here and in here. I'm just going to give some clear view to those, some micro contrast, and just brighten those up a bit. And when I do selective tones, I like to try to keep a straight line, uh, sort of like this. I find that gives the most natural looking results. There's not much color in here. There's really just these mild, very mild, uh, light gray here and the sky. Let me see. I think maybe I'll try black and white, and we'll do a balanced. Now let's work with the tones again on a global scale. And just make this very high contrast. I'm using micro contrast and contrast. The fine contrast here is only available if you get DxO Film Pack, which I believe they just released a new version. So I'm not going to use that because not everybody's going to have that. Give a little more push in the shadows. Okay, and then let's work on the fine detail a bit. So I'm just going to increase the lens sharpness and details. Everything else here looks good. Okay, I think we're done. So um, let's just do a side by side. I don't need to export this one because it's a pretty clean image, and I didn't crop very much. But there you go. Just basically a black and white conversion, then added some contrast because it was a very hazy image before. And I think that looks better as a black and white because now you can kind of focus on the geometry rather than the colors, right? Or lack thereof. And I just wanted to get rid of this. I understand this is a beach. That does add a little bit of context to the scene, but since this is more of an architectural shot, I don't think we really needed it. So I just stuck with the architecture and geometry over here. So I think that looks pretty good. Okay, let's go to this one. This one's from Larry. And and another thing I'll mention is every 2 or 3 images, I'll stop and check the chat section and answer any questions. So if you have any questions about what I'm doing, I'll try and answer them like every 2 or 3 images. Okay, so we have a bird shot here. So let's apply basic preset. And I'm going to tilt the horizon a little bit because the bird just feels crooked to me. Although that may be how he's really sitting. I just want to just tilt it. And again, I always do geometry and perspective corrections first. Maybe even get that stick. Because remember, I always like to watch my corners. Okay, I think that's good there. And then let's do a square crop. And now we have the bird right in the center. So I've cropped out this distractant down here. And then I have the stick leading in this line from the corner down to the bird. So I think that frames nicely. If anything, I'd like the bird a little bit more in the bottom right. So let me just move this up. And I can come in a bit. Okay, that kind of works. All right, very good. So the bird has really good highlights here. I just need to kind of bring up the shadows, I think, um, and then maybe darken the background a little bit. So um, let me do that real quick. If I select the background, and I'll just do a linear pull on the exposure, meaning I'm going to evenly lower the brightness on everything. And then I'm going to add a little bit of the speculars back in, just the highlights and some of the midtones. And maybe warm it up just a bit too. just to bring it because it's not the bird has a really nice warm light on it. So I'm just trying to match that a little better. Okay, and then I'm going to start working on the bird. And because I don't want to highlight the bird using I just want to work with the shadows. So I'm going to use control points instead with a little bit of tighter lumina masking here, like this. Maybe a little bit there and here. Okay, so let's just do a linear push again on this. Okay, and a little bit tighter on the chroma. So I'm getting a little bit of haloing around these areas, so I'm just going to tighten the mask a little more. Okay. Um, I don't like how it worked over here. Let me move this around a bit. Okay, that's a little more natural. What if I get rid of that? I think I'll leave that off. Okay. Um, because it was just looking a little bit pasty over here when I did that, but I think the shadows look good back here. And I don't know if there's a little bit of yellow in there or not, but let's go ahead and work on the eyes, the beaks, and talons. Those are the next items I usually work with, and I just normally use control points for that as well. So we'll zoom way in. Now I'm going to put my control point on the brown part of the iris here. Just tighten up the luma. I'm sorry, yeah, the chroma a little bit. Just until most of the iris is highlighted. Okay. And then we'll add some clear view, some micro contrast, and we'll brighten it a little bit in the shadows. Let's give it a little more texture. Okay. And then the beak, I'll make a new mask and I'll tighten up the chroma. Chroma just means color. We'll do the same thing with the beak. Just give it a little bit of polish, like so, with micro contrast and clear view. And I think I can usually use the same ones that I used on the beak, I can use on the talons here. Maybe a little bit of a push in the shadows. Again, trying to keep a straight line if I can. All right, so let me just do a pixel peep here with the loop tool, which shows me the final processed image and see how that's looking. That's not bad. It's a tiny bit of loss here in detail. So I'm going to go back to the detail panel and see if I can crank up the detail slider and the sharpening there. And let's use also a little bit of unsharp mask here. It might be too much. Let's see the talons. Okay. Um, I don't want it to look too crispy. All right, I think that's good. And then let's add a vignette. So to add in a vignette, just make a new mask, use the control point, put it around the center of whatever you want to vignette. In this case, I want to vignette the bird. And then I'm going to set the chroma and luma sliders to 0, and then click here to invert the mask. And then I'm just going to pull the exposure. And sometimes I like to just pull on the blacks, maybe not even mess with the exposure, just pull on the blacks and the shadows. That way the vignette, I think, looks more natural this way, rather than, say, an even vignette using the exposure slider. Okay, and I think that's it. So I'm going to export this one so we can see the final result. Let me turn off some of these. I need to go back to, we're going to export to the original. I'm not going to use any advanced renaming. DxO9. Export as sRGB. Protect, preserve color details and all exit data. All right. Sorry, I had all my settings set for another project I'm working on. Okay. Now, if we go back to the library, I can always click on this little arrow button, and it'll give me the progress. The first image I do in DxO typically takes a little longer than later, but yeah, this one's actually moving along pretty nicely. So about 20 seconds there to export. All right, so let me reset this one. And then we're going to just do a comparison with the output here, side by side. And okay, I think that came out pretty nice. So yeah, just straightening the bird did a lot, and then darkening the background, and a little push on the shadows. But the main thing here is you can really see the iris now. If I zoom in, that's the before, and that's the after. And I think that came out pretty good. Very nice. Beautiful bird. Okay, let's go on to Roger here. It's a squirrel eating some a mushroom, looks like mushroom stem is my best guess. Um, okay, I like the composition, just maybe a little bit off the top, and we're set there. So let me apply basic preset, which is denoising and optical corrections. And then I'm going to do the aspect ratio is fine. I'm just going to crop just a little bit tighter, like so. Leave a little bit of room on the right side in this case. And then I'm going to, again, darken the background and brighten the squirrel a little bit because he's a little bit underexposed. But the exposure overall is pretty good. And then maybe add some warmth. Let me do that first, some white balance. I'll just pick a part on the fur here. No, that's a little bit brown. Just gonna add a little bit of warmth. I'm gonna try the DxO Smart Lighting. Okay, that looks good. And just do a little bit of a push in the shadows, just a tiny bit. And a drop of clear view. And micro contrast is on auto here with this little star. Okay, so with squirrels, typically it's always the eyes and the ears, right? Animals that have, prominent ears like squirrels and rabbits, deer. I like to do the eyes and the ears. So let's work on that next using just control points in this case. I'm going to come in and let's give a little, whoops, Let's give a little push to the shadows. Okay. Oh, I got it. And some clear view. Wow, these eyes are really dark. I don't think there's any color left in there. So we'll just do a little bit of a spread here and a little bit more push. Okay. So I'm just making the area around the eye a little brighter since the eye itself can't really get too bright. Now we're going to do a similar thing with the ears with a new mask. And let's just do a linear push here and add some micro contrast. Okay, very good. All right, now the background, I want to temper the background a little bit, maybe just the lighting. Vignette might be enough, but I'm going to do a control line. And I want the right side to be a little bit brighter. Whoops. Let me make a new mask. I'm sorry. Plus sign here for new mask. Control line. And we'll have it come in at an angle. I'm going to back off the chroma and luma masking because I want the masking to be on the squirrel as well. In fact, I might even emphasize the squirrel's colors by using the eyedropper. Mostly on the reds here. And let's maybe tighten this back up again. Okay, now I'm going to start with the highlights and then the midtones, a little bit in the shadows. And let me bring this in a little closer. All right, that's good. And then maybe just a little bit of clear view. Mm, okay, I'm going to push this globally here. Just a linear push. Another half a stop. Two thirds of a stop. So I'm over brightening it, but I'm going to come back here to the global setting and then pull it back about the same amount. Maybe almost the same amount. Almost 2/3 there. And then back on the control line, let's give it a little warmth. And then we'll go back and globally, let's cool it off a little bit. And then I'm going to just push the shadows down here a little bit. So I'm going to make a new mask with a control point. And I just want to give a slight push to the shadows. Okay, and then globally, a little more clear view. Okay, I think that's good. This is a little bit soft in here, but that's okay. Let's get the loop and pixel peep some of the fur, see if we can just make that a little bit more. So I'm going to go back to the detail panel, increase the intensity here. Yeah, that's better. Grab a little more detail. Okay, let's export that. And then we'll do side by side. Okay, so let's reset. We'll set this image as a reference. Um, there it is. Had a brain fart there. Okay, so just a little tighter crop and just added a little bit of dynamic range to the scene by using a control line. I should have watched this over here. There's actually some nice color in here, but other than that, I think that's pretty decent edit. It looks a little bit too warm, but that's easy enough to correct. Just back off the white balance a little bit, but other than that, I think if we do a close up, you can see we got a really nice detail from the original. I think that came out really good. All right, so I did see a lot of questions here. So I have a lot of images, so I'll try and get through the chat here. So I see Williams here, Roger, Lasse, good to see you. And good morning there, Larry, and Serge, and Henning. Um, Ethan, oh, good to see you, Ethan. And today's a big day. Oh, that's right. Serge got the Ohm Mark II. And what does the stacking feature do? I'm not sure what stacking feature you're referring to. It's not coming to mind right now. Maybe it'll hit me. Give me an idea of what panel it's in if it doesn't come to mind while I'm working on this. But Gord is asking, what does the stacking feature do? I don't. Oh, stacking. Okay, I know what you're talking about. Okay, never mind. It's for grouping images together. So if we go back to DxO, if I want to group, say, all the animal pictures together, I'll pick this one and this one, right? And oops, this one, this one, this one. So those are all the animal pictures, and I can say, okay, stack these together. Stack and create stack. So now all the animal pictures are grouped together. I missed one. I don't know if I can just add that to the existing stack or not. Let me see if I highlight these two. Yeah, not really. But yeah, that's all it does. So if I expand this out, you can see all the animal pictures are grouped together. So let me go ahead and unstack all of these. The other thing you can do is stack by time. So these, you know, grouping by time, like if I right click and you see, I gotta select two of them. If I right click on any two or more images, I can just create a stack directly like that I created. There's group in the stack, move on top. Okay, so there's some options. I haven't played with all of these, but I just want to give you the basic idea. I can stack by shot date. So it's created one stack because obviously these two have the exact same shot date, right? But it's not only just the date, but it's time and date. This is really useful for stacking together images that are that you did focus bracketing. Because in focus bracketing, like if you do 15 brackets in about 5 seconds, if you say stack by shot date and interval 5 seconds, it'll group all of your stacked images together very, very nicely. So it's a very, very useful feature, especially for focus bracketing, exposure bracketing, like if you're doing HDR. It stacks the images together and keeps them so you can see how many stacks you have or groups of photos that you have. So that's kind of the general idea. It's just a tool. Use it any way you want. But I just wanted to kind of give you the just the basic overall idea of what stacking it is and what I use it for. Okay, and then oh, drone shot. Okay, we'll see, Simon. We'll see. And Larry says black and white looks great. Oh, that's cool. I guess that was for this this image here, right? Whoops. Yeah, that came out pretty good, I think. Because it was already pretty monochromatic already. I just made it completely black and white. Hi, Rob. Just realized that I sent one for last week, so there are a couple for myself. In addition, I dug out the shot of the plane by the moon. Okay, we'll check that out. So I'll do one of yours today, and if I still have the energy, I'll do the second one. And then Ethan says, submitted a file for you to mess with. I just did a stack of 3 sand grains, 1.6 millimeter field of view for the unedited image. Okay, wow. I got me a macro rail, by the way, from Nissi. It was on sale for like $79, so I got it. And the bird looks great. Thanks. Oh, you're welcome. And Jeff is here. Good to see you, Jeff. And can't wait to get my 300 f4 with MC14 in February, but getting cash back through the shop. Oh, nice. That's an awesome lens combo. I almost took it out this morning, but I decided I didn't want to carry anything big, so I just brought the 75 to 300. I haven't even taken the card out of my camera yet. I just got back. And Stuart says, just been struggling with the selecting photos in the library for processing until I realized I had to label them and then filter them. Yeah. Yeah, there's always a learning curve with a lot of almost any software, and Gordon says, cool, okay. Oh, what did I say I was going to do for you, Gordon? Let me go back up and look. Uh, oh, okay, so you were asking about the stacking. Okay, so let's get back to the images. All right, so we have here umbrella shot. So we definitely want to keep this as the main eye point or center point. Let's apply basic preset. I'm going to apply perspective correction. And then the exposure is fine. The overall composition, I think, rather than front and center, I'm going to off center this guy. And actually, maybe go a little taller. We're 4x3 now. Let's try a 3x2. Let's try a 16x9. Get rid of that street. Let's go back to 3x2. Yeah, I kind of like that a little better, a little bit off center to the right, because that's kind of the direction he's walking in, right? And not much else needs to be done here, I think. Maybe let's play with the white balance a little bit. If we go a little bit cooler, and then I'm gonna go back to the umbrella. Let's let's see how the AI works if I select it. If I use the rectangle tool and select, oh, nice. Missed a little bit of the shoe. And let's warm him up back. We'll give a little push in the shadows. And then I'm going to brighten up in a linear fashion everything. Again, I'm overexposing a bit, but then I'm going to go back to the global and underexpose. So I did about 1.5 stops. I'm just going to go down about a stop. Okay, that's not bad. Maybe not that much. And then let's see if I lower the contrast. Lower the contrast a bit. Okay. Um, and then let's use a control point. So we're going to make a new mask. And I'm just going to add a little bit of light around the feet, like that. A little bit of clear view. And then we'll add a little warmth back in there as well. And we'll maybe pop a little bit over there, just to kind of keep it kind of natural looking. Maybe a little smaller. And let me go back to the guy and just pull this down just a little bit. Okay, because the light is kind of coming from the left, it looks like. I think the light over here doesn't match the light down here. This is the problem. So what do I do? Let me duplicate that mask, invert it. Oops, not that. This. No, that's not working. This is bothering me, this one side. Maybe I can just darken it a bit. Okay, that's better. And then I'm going to add one more control point, maybe on this wall. And just push the highlights and midtones and a little bit of warmth. Okay, I think I'll call it there. So we'll just do a side by side on this one. All right, so the main thing here was uh, just the composition of putting the person more on the right side of the frame. So they're walking a little bit out of the frame, and then just adding a few highlights on the sidewalk and a little bit on this wall. This was distracting to me, so I made it darker. But other than that, I think that looks pretty good. So if we do a split, and and I emphasize warmth here and coolness in the background. But you'll notice that I made it a little bit warmer on the right side here, which is closer to the camera, and then a little bit cooler off in the distance because I cooled the white balance overall, then I warmed it back up, particularly here and onto the ground. Uh, my goal was to kind of give the image a little bit more color depth, right, or perception of depth via color, because typically things closer to you are warmer than things in the distance. So that was kind of the feel I was going for. Um, I'm not sure how successful that was, but yeah, I think that works. Okay, let's go to the next one. And so we need to keep these guys in here in the background together with this guy. I love this tree. So let me apply a basic preset, and I think compositionally, maybe just a slight tilt. And then let's try a 16 by 7. And let's balance this a little bit because there's a little bit too much there with the tree. Although I love that tree. And in terms of composition, maybe about there. Okay. Yeah, too bad about this tree. I really like that tree. But there's no way for me to keep the tree, in the frame without keeping all the other stuff I don't want, which was primarily the foreground. So I want to enhance the reds that I see in here and also brighten up these two over here. And then just give a little more contrast to the background because right now it's pretty much just black, right? And so I need to brighten it. Then I don't want to lose the blacks in it. I want to just brighten it a little bit, but then add contrast so you can see some depth going into the background, if any. I didn't even look at it. If I brighten this, yeah, definitely I can make some light painting back here would look really good, I think. All right, so this guy is bright enough in the frame. Let's I think I can work with just local adjustments here. So let me brighten up the background a little bit first. I'm just going to pick a darker part, tighten up the luma a little bit. Okay. And the chroma. All right. So let's do a global brightening. Something like that. And then let's work with the tones and pull the blacks back in. A little bit in the shadows, then push the midtones. So we may have to come over a little bit more. Okay, good. All right, then we'll do a control point. Uh, Let me zoom in over here. Just going to brighten up this area just a little bit. And then add a little bit of warmth. Okay. And I think that's good. Let's do a little bit of brightening here as well. I'll just do a linear push, some clear view, contrast, and warmth. Get a little more warmth. I'm gonna pull the blacks in. Oops, not that much. Like, and then we can do the same brush on these the trees and the foliage down here, just a spot here and there. Let me, I'm gonna rethink this a little bit. Okay. Uh, Probably just a little bit too much in here. So let's make these smaller. Okay. Now the reds, I'm gonna do the same thing, but a new control point. I'm gonna do my best to select the reds here with control point. Let's do a very, very tight chroma. Yeah, right there. But let's do the maximum chroma tightness and maybe a little bit of luma. Okay, good. A little bit of red in here. Okay, let's not overdo it with the reds. Okay, so we're gonna push. Let's see if this works. Yeah, that's working. A little bit of lightness. Okay. Let me go back to this original control line. What if I warm this up a bit more? That's three. Get rid of some of these. My control line. Okay, I'm gonna call it there. Let's export that. Okay, and let's do a comparison. Do a side by side. All right, so yeah, just a major crop to a wide. I lean in on these wide shots a lot because I love landscapes, but um, there's also a vertical composition in here as well. I think that could be had, or a square. But I just wanted to get rid of this foreground and bring out the background a little bit with a highlight on the deer over here and this one here. And if we just do an overlay, um, yeah, I think it came out pretty good. But that, yeah, that's a beautiful image right there. All right. Okay, let's do the next one here. We have a portrait. All right, let's see. My basic preset and try to make this somewhat serviceable. Maybe we'll do something a little bit different. Okay. Thinking, let me just select all this stuff in the background and then just darken that. Not there. Maybe desaturate it. And hmm, a little warmth. Okay. And then let's temper the highlights a bit on the forehead. So let's use a control point for that. Okay. And let me go back. I'm gonna try a 3 by 2. I want black and white. No. I feel like we were going for a dramatic portrait, right? So let's see if I can exaggerate that a bit. I need a new control line. Yeah, this one. No, new one. Tighten up the chroma. Alright. I think these are clipped here though. Make a new mask, just right in here. Hmm. This doesn't quite work the way I was thinking originally. Yeah, I think the way I had it originally was better. Let me just control C my way back. All right, one more. Let's just use a standard linear up to there. A bit tighter on the luma. Okay, I'm gonna call it there. Don't think I need to export this one. And we got, so the background is a little bit rough because the lighting is kind of all over the place. But I think what it looks like you got a single light source using an umbrella. So it's spilling the light kind of everywhere. And to get this harsher, dramatic look, um, ideally what I would have liked is the background to be very, very bright on the left side, dark on the right side, and then bright on the front of the face, dark on the back of the face, back of the head. So we have sort of this dark, light, dark, light. But the way this is, composed with the lighting, actually you can see the umbrella shadow here. It looks like this is making it a little difficult to go for the look that I would have gone for if I were doing this portrait with one light. Um, and then the highlights are clipped a little bit, but I think this came out okay. And I like this off center kind of looking out of the frame instead of into the frame. I think works a little better. just to be a little bit different. So that's our side by side. So very good. Okay. All right. Let me just check the chat section. Let's see. I think I left off here where, oh, intrigue. How are you? Good to see you. And Rob, the squirrel is maybe a little soft at the mouth because he was munching away. Yes, just a little bit. Um, so what you do is you capture several frames, like go into continuous shutter, and then you can usually get one where everything is perfect, right? Perfectly sharp. If you have to use a slow shutter speed. Gourd and vignette a little, okay. The subject with the yellow umbrella really stands out now. Oh, okay, thanks. Yeah, I thought that came out better. And Steema says, I use a GTX 2060, never had a problem. Mine, Rob Truck streams in 1080p. Yes. I did not have a 4K multi-box because they're like $1,000 for a 4K uh, switch box. So I don't make that kind of money unless you want to buy me one. That would be great. Uh, and all this shit about 4K monitors and yet streams at 1080p. I haven't talked about 4K monitors today, but watch your language. Okay, and then do 4K vids so we can see the results and shut up. Well, Seamus, you're welcome to make your own streams in 4K. Don't let me hold you back, all right? But I don't have a 4K capability, unfortunately. I just don't have the budget for that. And it's all blurry in 1080p. Yeah. Sounds like you need a better internet connection and 12-year-old kids use cap locks. Okay. Says I have a 4K monitor, Rob streams in 1080p. Yes, that is a fact. I stream in 1080p, no question. So he posts in 1080p and it's all fuzzy. Yeah, sorry, man. But like I said, you're welcome to stream in 4K if you can. It's not cheap and it's not easy. I do have a 4K box, but I can only put one HDMI source into it, and I need multiple sources. And those multi-source 4K things yeah, they're really expensive. I just don't make enough to buy that. Can I ban that kid? No reason to ban him. He's just a little frustrated with streaming in 1080. I get it, you know. Um, yeah, everybody just chill. It's no big deal. Okay. And Rudolph is here. Good to see you. Yeah, everybody chill, man. It's not a big deal. I can only stream in 1080p, so I'm sorry about that. Okay. Let's go to the next one. But be nice. All right. Let's see what we got here. This is an edited image, I think. Did I? Oh, I see. Sorry. You sent your edited image in together with your regular. Okay. Um, that's okay. I would have done something completely different anyway. I try not to look at like your edits um before I edit it, so I don't want to influence my own edit, right? At the same time. But okay, let's apply a basic preset and need to straighten the horizon a bit. I'm just going to eyeball it. And see a little center spot here. What are we at? F5.6. Maybe there's a smudge on my screen. No, that looks like a little bit of a sensor spot. Okay, I think I'm gonna go wide with this. So let's try 16 by 9, 16 by 7. I don't know why I'm leaning into 16 by 7 lately. I just been into this particular format. I think this is a nice separation here. We got about 1/3 in the back, all of this in the middle with the pier or dock, and then this grass in the foreground. And this little sailboat is a nice accent to the scene. Yeah. Okay. I'd almost do monochrome like a mono, but I'd have to crank up the contrast quite a bit. But I feel like this would look good in black and white because the colors down here are a bit muted. Let me look at let me just brighten this up and see. Yeah, I think I'll go black and white. I think that goes with the mood of this image for me. So we'll just do a little bit of global brightening. And then we'll use a control line and just add a little more contrast to the background. Meaning I'm just going to make it brighter. And by contrast, I mean contrast the background against the foreground, not contrast to the background itself. In fact, I might want to lower the contrast and just make it a little brighter. Okay, good. And then I'm going to back off the luminosity a little bit. I want to grab a little bit of this part in the masking. Just to about there. All right, let's do a global pull on the blacks. A little bit on the shadow. So I want to almost silhouette the foreground. I think that looks maybe just a global pull on the contrast. Okay. Uh, I think that's what I'm going to go with. So if we compare that to the original, yeah, I like it in black and white. See if I can look at it side by side. So the sailboat here, it's okay if it's even a little bit softer than it was before. I kind of like the softer fade to the background. So if we do a slider view, yeah, I like that. I like this black and white, and I like this wide form. This might be just be a phase for me doing these 16 by 7s. Uh, so just bear with me this weekend with these wide edits, so to speak. But let's go ahead and compare to your edit since it's here. Let me, oops, we set this as a reference. Sorry. Why can't I? I got this as a reference. This is the reference image, right? I'm not sure why I can't compare. This image is reference, and then select this. All right. So we both went with a wide. Yours looks 16 by 9. Um, but yeah, very, very different edits on the same scene. I think a very different feel as well. Um, but I don't know. You guys let me know what you think. Okay. Let's see. This one, I think this is the one Simon said I may not be able to edit. So this is a DNG. So what I need to do is just maybe convert it. Let's see. Open with, you can do it with Adobe Bridge, but I'll just use Photoshop. But Adobe Bridge, you can export as a TIFF. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to export it as a TIFF file, and then I'll be able to edit it. File, save as TIFF. Okay. Okay. Um, so let's do a little smart lighting. I don't need to apply any preset because, well, there is a little bit of EXIF data, but there's no EXIF data here. I think that uh, DxO can use, but I do see it feels like there's a tiny bit of barrel distortion. So I can correct for that just manually myself, just a little bit that way. Yeah, just about 10. And the colors are perfect. All we have to do is really work with the exposure a little bit. So I want to accentuate the speculars in the town here, and then just try to get a little more light coming in to the scene from this sunset, it looks like. So how would I do that? I think I'm going to do a local adjustment. Let's do a control line. Just very gradual. Let's try a linear push first. And then a little push in the shadows. I'm going to crank up the highlights and the midtones. Maybe even bring this down a bit. Another push. And then let's add some, oh, this is something I wish DxO would fix, that I could work with white balance on non-raw files. Whew, this is a little bit of an issue for me. I don't think I'll be able to get the exact effect that I want. Let me stretch this a bit more and bring this down. I almost don't even need to use a linear gradient. I mean, a control line. I can just use a linear gradient. Okay, I guess that'll work. Let's do one more control line. This time I want to focus on the highlights like this, these tungsten yellow colors. Okay, how are we doing? Whoops. A little bit too much brightness here. Go back to a control line here. I need to bring that sky back a little bit. So let me go back. We'll use an AI tool this time. Select the sky. Just bring this back in. All right. I have to start over. Let me get rid of that and that. Okay, so the AI mask there. Let's make a new AI mask. And I'm just going to select just this areas in here. I'm going to push the highlights. There's some clear view. No. Really want to brighten up the lights. Okay. And then I'm going to try one more time with the control line, but just on the blues. There we go. I think that's all I can do. Other than maybe just add a tad of warmth. I think I'm going to call it there. This was hard for me for some reason. Okay. Yeah, the town was just too dark. So I wanted to brighten it without brightening up, you know, everything. So I just pushed the highlights mainly to get these street lights and lamp and window lights and everything to show better without affecting the background too much. And then also bring out the water uh, so you can see it a little better. And I think that looks okay. Not my best edit though. I'm not used to editing drone shots. Not that there should be any difference, but I'm having a little trouble thinking of a composition and lighting, uh, sort of uh, strategy. But that's a cool shot. I think you mentioned you might send yours in, so I'll check that out. Okay. All right, so this was okay. So last week or 2 weeks ago, sorry I missed last week. I had to take care of my mom with some stuff, kind of unexpectedly. She's fine, but it just came out of nowhere. Um, okay, so let's apply basic preset. This will be a really quick edit, I think. Do a square and just come in tight and center it. Let's see. Yeah, let's just brighten it up. Some clear view and micro contrast. And I want to accentuate sort of this heat distortion coming off the plane. So maybe because I don't know if I can. Let me just try it. It's very, very fine brush, and we'll stay inside. I wonder if I can maybe just just give a hint of it there, more than showing now. That work? Should it be darker? No. Yeah, I'll leave it there. Okay. All right. You know, trying to extract more detail out of this would be a little bit futile, but I'll try. So we'll do that and detail. Something in this range. I don't want to make it too crispy. Yeah, it's a little bit crispy. Okay, I think that'll do. It's a little bit futile when you're working with these really long, you know, astro shots like this, shots of the moon. It's best to uh, do full on astrophotography, right? And to take multiple images and stack them if you want to get a sharp image of the moon. But a single shot like this with the plane, it's a little bit trickier. Particularly, you're just working with what 40 to 150 with a 1.4, so you don't have a lot of reach. I had to crop a lot, but I think let's do a comparison. But yeah, I'm cropping into like less than 1 megapixel of data here. Yeah, these are tough shots. If you try to plan a shot like this, it can be done, but it's very difficult. Uh, using photo pills and hours of tutorials, you can get this and a lot of luck. You can get a shot like this if you plan it. Um, but to get this, I think you told me you got this. You were lucky to get this. Was just pure luck how you got this shot. But there you go. That's my edit. We can sort of maybe do a split view. So there's very silhouetted plane with accentuated start heat trails here versus a little bit softer image because raw images tend to be soft. Okay, And then this one here just says, oh, you got another one. Ironically, I got a shot myself of a plane over the moon. I'll show you that a little later. Well, let me see. I can show it very, very quickly. But they're on my Flickr page. But that's my shot, the plane flying by a moon. And then I had one more. That was one. Here's the other one. This one came out pretty good. I like this one. Again, this was pure luck. I wasn't planning this at all. But it's easy to get shots like this here because DCA airport is right there. And these planes are always flying by. And if the moon is out, you can get a shot like this pretty easily. But okay, going back to your stuff. Okay. Um, and thank you, Simon. That's awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And you say that Capture One lets you open the DNG. Yeah. So Capture One is clearly it's supporting more DNG profiles because DNG is not like a base standard. DNG is almost like its own unique file, you know, tied to the camera. Uh, so DxO has to support, like, for example, it supports the DNG files from my Leica because it supports the Leica DNG. But I forget what camera you had, but you said it was a DJI. Yeah, DxO is not supporting a lot of the DJI stuff that I'm aware of. Okay, and then that's it. So let's go to the next one. Oops, it's this one here. One from Paul. Oh, nice. Let's see. He got something, a little berry or something, or a piece of candy or food. I don't know. He's on about something, but I love this reflection. So let's apply basic preset, and I think I'll keep this sort of landscapey profile or composition. I'm just going to try and center it a little bit more. What if I go the other way? Okay, that's fine. And then uh, this is a pretty straightforward edit. We'll just add a little bit of clear view to the water. So let's tighten up the chroma mask and just make the water a little more glossy. Okay, what if I move this up? Yeah, right about there is good. And then let's just temper the highlights a bit on the bird. And then let's do a loop tool and just try and see the finer details. Okay, not too bad. Let's go back to the lens profile. Maybe do a little unsharp masking. I'm going to push this chromatic aberration a bit. Okay. Right about there. He's got a little tag on him too. All right, I think that's good. Let me just check the highlights real quick. Yeah, nothing's clipped. Technically, nothing's clipped, but there is a little bit of detail clipped in this wing. Then the last thing I'll do, let's make a new mask. Just the speculars here. So I'm going to tighten the luma and just push the highlights down in here too. Okay, let's export that and we'll do a comparison. How are we doing on time? Not bad, not bad. Almost done. So we'll just do a slider here. So there's the original. We'll do a side by side. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Uh, so let's see how much detail we were able to recover. So if I really come in, let's see, 100%. Yeah, cleaned up the noise nicely, and it did pull back a little detail, particularly in the wings. That looks really good. Yeah, that looks great. That's a great shot. Okay. Um, let's go to the next one here. Okay, we have an egret of some kind, a white egret, I guess. Hmm. I like this composition. I just want to bring out the texture in the wood, maybe some of the detail back here, if possible, if it hasn't been clipped. And this one is from Paul. Okay, this might be the second one you sent in. I'm feeling okay, so I'll go ahead and get through these. Maybe temper the background a little bit, make it a little softer. So let's apply basic preset, and let's do a linear and pull this down. Maybe about there. We'll add some blur. Maybe about 25. Oops. And then we will do an AI mask rectangular. Select that, then punch a hole. There. Okay. Now let's start a new mask. And let me do a control point. See if we can temper the highlights on this bird a bit. Tighten up the luma. Yeah, very good. Maybe some micro contrast. Yeah, looking good. Was this a high-res shot mode or something? Because this is the shutter speed, 1/500. So why is this blurred out? Oh, that's my fault. Dang it. This mask here. We need to just sort of add to it a bit. Hold on. What did I do? I did something wrong. Give me a second here. I have this selected. Ah, stop it. Control point mask. This one. And then a new one. I thought I could do it all at once, but I guess not. And then hole punch it. I'm gonna have to think of a better workflow than I'm doing now. Don't copy what I'm doing now. I've never had to do this before. All right, I'm gonna leave it there. Okay, let's accentuate the details in this wood thing. So I'll use the rectangular tool. I'll add this and this and this thing. I'm gonna use micro contrast. Yeah, a little bit of clear view. Temper the highlights a bit. And then do a little bit of vibrance here. Really push the reds there. Okay, and then I want to accentuate the yellow in this eye. So let me just do this with a simple control point, and we'll just use a little bit of warmth and some vibrance. Okay. All right. Let's see where we're at. Maybe go back to the background here and just pump the blurriness and pull the brightness down a little bit. Not that much. I want some vibrance. It needs more green. Okay. I think we'll call it there. So let's export that. I didn't do a great job on masking the bird here. I need to work on that workflow. All right, so there's the before and after. Like I said, the main idea was just to kind of accentuate the texture and details in this red, and it looks like an old boat rudder. And then of course the yellow in the bird's eye and the highlights to bring those temper the highlights. Where I kind of messed up was on the legs here. Well, I'll figure that out by the next stream, how to get a good workflow to get this right, because that didn't work out too great. That's my fault. But if we do a split, I think I think it looks really good, especially blurring the background just a little bit more, which is very very easy to do now with Photolab. I think that came out nice overall with this, the exception of the leg here. So yeah, I'll work on that next for the next stream. A workflow for that makes sense. Okay, let's see. Let me do one more and then I'll come back to the chat. So let's apply basic preset. And let's try that. And then compositionally, I don't think we really need anything over there on the right. I just want to focus on this little sailboat right here. And let me just check the black and white. It's not going to look good, I don't think. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to separate the tones enough in black and white to make that work. Well, we can try to separate by color because this is kind of a bluish gray versus this greenish gray. Very subtle. That's why I was thinking black and white. Yeah, let's do that. Because this is, other than this yellow accent here and this cone, it's pretty much monochromatic. So I think I'll go with that. And then we can just kind of work with the tones globally. And just go for a very high contrast. Kind of give it a filament look. And then if I can, go to the channel mixer and just the yellows here and the red cone I want to sort of separate a little bit better. There. See, the red cone is brighter now, and this yellow sign is a little bit darker. Now they're separated a little bit better in the black and white. And I think that's it, other than, no. Yeah. So let's do a side by side. I don't really need to export this one either because we're not going for fine details. So compositionally, there's just too much over here for me. So I tried to simplify it by just concentrating on this boat, but leaving enough of everything else in to give it context that, yeah, it's sitting outside of this building. And then black and white, I think works okay. Because again, the tones right in here, particularly with this blue or gray cover versus this gray building, just wasn't quite enough contrast here in color. So rather than trying to separate it by color, I'm just going to use black and white. And I think that works pretty well. So a little bit simpler scene and simpler in every way, right? Less of the scene and less colors. All right, very nice, very nice. That was from John. Okay, let's see. We have some artwork here of some kind. Apply basic preset. I'm gonna have to give this some thought. This is a little tricky. Really fascinating though. I like this one right here because they got yellow hair and then a green speckles. If it was just this image, I would probably go black and white, but this image here kind of makes me want to stay color. And then this one over here doesn't really matter to me. You're on the 12 to 45 at 12. So what I would have done with this scene, so I would have backed up if possible. I would have backed up and shot it closer to 25 to 45, like at a longer focal length to compress it a little more to get all three of these guys or these three figures about the same size. Because right now there's a pretty dramatic difference from here to here. Um, I might have to freeform this crop a little bit. I normally like to use very, very standard crops. It looks like about 3 by 2. Yeah, 4 by 3, just a little bit tighter. And then let me pull the blacks in. Ooh, it's getting a little bit gritty. Need to be softer. This is another tough edit. Let me, okay. I'm going to do a very tight chroma mask here. Okay. Now let's do something with the greens. And sort of a tighter chroma mask. And then let's do vibrancy. Okay, let me go back to the face. Maybe I need something here. Okay, I think that's it. So very minor editing here. Uh, base I just saturated the greens and yellows and then brightened the faces a little bit and a slight crop. But I think that's all that needs to be done with this. Aside from maybe, black and white. But I don't want to do every other image black and white. I want to try to keep the color because this looks good in color. Maybe. Yeah. Okay. Um, wow, that was a hard one. Sent that in. That was tough, Jeff. All right, last one here. Okay. These are very straightforward for me. This is my wheelhouse. Not like that last one. That last one and the drone shot, those two were hard for me. I couldn't think compositionally or lighting or I my brain just could not figure out how to edit that image or edit those two images very well. Okay, so we'll do a square crop. We'll have the bird going into the frame. We'll have this twig bringing the bird into the frame. Hence, we can kind of come in like that. I think that looks good. Did I do my basic preset? Yeah, I did. Okay. So let's do the same thing. Let's blur the background a bit extra. And then select the bird and punch it out. Select this and punch it out. Okay. All right, good. And then maybe just make this a little bit darker. So we'll pull the blacks in and shadows. Yeah, that's not going to work. Just stay right about there. Just add another control line here. Okay, and then the bird, I think we can just add a little brightness to the image overall. Let's brighten the eyes. There's always a little bit of iris to be had. And do that. Give it a little bit of contrast. Maybe a little bit of warmth just to give it a little more color and vibrancy. All right. What is going on in the chat? I'm not gonna post my pics when you have so many bigots in your chat. I have no idea what you got. Just ignore them. I don't know how to block anybody or anything. I don't know how to do that. Just ignore them. If somebody bothers you, just ignore them. Okay, I think that looks good. I think the blurry thing is not working out too well on this image. So I'm gonna take that off. Let me go back to my local adjustments. Let me just back this off. Yeah, that's not working. Okay. We'll just make it a little bit darker and bring this down. And then do just a global pull again. And I think I'll just come in a little tighter. And that's it. So I'll export that. And then we'll do a comparison. Okay. Sorry. There we go. So the original, yeah, there's a pretty heavy crop there. I think that came out all right. Let's just do a split view and just check the detail. And yeah, that's pretty amazing, the detail we brought out from that image. I shouldn't have tried so hard to blur the background in the first place. Other than that, I think this came out pretty good. All right. Let me check the things. I think somebody said they sent their edits in, so let me check that. Ah, oh, and then Ethan sent one in. Let me see. So this was the drone edit. Okay, that's pretty close to what I did, but you did a better job with the shadows down here. Definitely. Um, Definitely a much better job on that. I like your edit way better. Very, very crisp. Good job. Good job. Okay. And then this is yeah, this is pretty close. Except I went a little heavier on the reds with mine, right? Um, yeah, this was my edit. You can see my reds are a little bit stronger down in here. But other than that, pretty close. And I blurred the background a little bit. But you did a good job with the eyes. Good job on the details here. It's just in the reds that we kind of diverged a little bit. Okay, and then Paul's edit. Wow, that's really almost exactly the same. The only difference I see is in the speculars here in the water. I did a little extra work here to brighten these on mine because if you look at my edit, Um, the water I have is it's much more specular, right? And your image a little bit warmer. You did a better job of saturating the reds in here. Ah, good job. Man, you guys should start your own editing streams. You're doing better than I am these days. I really like your edit better. Better contrast in the wings, nice warmer colors. The only thing I like about mine a little better is the speculars in the water. Okay. And then intrigue. I'm gonna have to get back to these next week, I think. Of course, it's only two more. I'll just do these last two. So let me download this one. Yeah, live streams, right? In that folder. I feel like I did one from intrigue today, but maybe not. Okay. Let's see. So there's one from Ethan. This is the JPEG, but I think you did want me to edit this. So I do see a couple of spots here and here I can clean up. I don't know if a preset will help at all, but I'll just apply a little bit there. And I'm going to increase the micro contrast just so I can see the spots. So what I might do, let me see how well AI might work on this. Whoops. Okay. Where's my micro contrast and contrast? Okay. So that kind of got rid of the spots. Let me go back here to the AI tool and let's see if we can just select this. Give it some clear view. Micro contrast and a little bit of vibrancy. And let's use the unsharp mask. I'm going to get in close. There we go. And then let's just use a control point in here. Oops. Let me make a new mask. I got to get rid of that. Just going to add a little bit of highlight information. Right, I think that's it. Um, so yeah, the biggest problem with this image was really just the spots. So I just sort of did a masking of the sand pebbles separate and then softened everything else with micro contrast on the outsides. Uh, with a little practice, I could probably get better at that as well. But I think that came out okay. And there's certainly more contrast and detail, I think, in the image now. Yeah. I mean that looks a lot better. Wow, great. Your photos always impress me, Ethan. They're really nice. Okay, there was one more in from who was it? Intrigue, right? Why isn't that? It's got to be. This is alphabetical. Should be right here. Because I thought, oh, P1, P10. So elemental P10. Oh, here it is. Okay. Okay. So the horizon is way crooked, but that might be intentional. Apply basic preset and we exaggerate that idea. I think that'll make for a little more interesting photo like that. And then just need to I just need to get that wingtip in. I'm sorry, the propeller blade. So we'll do a 3x2, just a little bit more of a tilt. And we should be just about right. Okay. Um, Still looks a little bit off. It's because the propeller's tilting in towards the plane. Okay. I think that makes kind of an interesting image. Something a little bit different. As far as details, God, everything looks good. So maybe just give it a little bit of contrast or micro contrast we don't really need to do much. Let me check. I mean, I don't want to do black and white necessarily. Yeah, that's not good. Maybe just add a little bit of highlights here and there. So a little bit tighter on the chroma and luma, and just give these individual parts a little bit of sparkle like that. A little bit of sparkle in here. Everything else, yeah, I think we're good. So not much editing there other than tilting it even more than it was. Because you can see the horizon back here clearly is off. So I thought it'd be interesting to kind of just straighten the plane out from, say, like the pilot's perspective, and then make the ground crooked. I don't know, but there you have it. All right. Let's see. What's going on in the chat? Seamus, I don't know how to ban things. Um, I mean, you can ban yourself if you want. It's okay with me. Uh, but I don't. Yeah, I don't know how to ban or delete things on the chat section. I don't see any because I use like this third-party software Roundabout. So it is what it is. I think for those of us that don't care, we don't care. All right. What else? Let's see. Paul, that's to Rudolph, Ethan. That is a good question. How do you balance the grains on top of each other? I don't know if Ethan is still here, but okay. I had an unfair advantage with the raw. Yeah, maybe, maybe a little bit. The trees with the aircraft is skewed. I'm not sure what you mean. If you're talking about this image, I mean, it's not straight. I guess skewed is the right word. My vocabulary is not that great. But that's my edit here on the right. I just added a little bit of sparkle here in the engine and then tilted it. Okay. Balancing them isn't easy. True that. But all right, guys. I think we'll call it here. So, man, a lot of great images today. Some really challenging ones for me from a compositional and lighting standpoint, like the drone shot and what was the other one? Uh, I already forgot. Let me go back to the library. I do want to give a little bit on the final thoughts here. Is the drone shot was the one? Oh, and the one from Jeff is these statues or this artwork. This was hard for me. This one and a drone shot. Um, this one here was from Marat. Okay, or Marat. This is really an excellent portrait. It's a very very good portrait. Um, you just need to work on the lighting technique itself. I think to get a different to get an effect that I think you're going for. I'm making a lot of assumptions here, right? Um, but try to use just bare flash if you don't have a Fresnel lens or something. And then also study, if you haven't already, Yusuf. His name is Yusuf Karsh. Um, he was a master at this kind of portrait lighting. If you look at some of his images, uh, it'll give you some ideas about what inspires my portrait work when I do mine. When I try to do creative portraits, Yusuf Karsh is really a great place to start for that. So, okay. Um, oh, you're in ex-aviation industry. Okay. And then Ethan says, Rudolph says ex-aviation industry. Wow. And in 6 years of practice, I made a small tool with plastic to pick them up and spent 1,000+ days practicing. Oh my God, that's 3 years. Man, that's crazy. So you guys, it's been a lot of fun aside from some of the chat drama there, but hey, it is what it is, right? You guys have a great weekend. I'm going to be doing a lot of shooting. I did check on my Flickr page over the next few hours. I'm going to post some pictures I took from this morning. Hopefully, they came out good. I was using my OM3 and 75 to 300 mostly. And I got some kingfisher shots and some heron shots. So those will be a lot of fun for me anyway. Uh, but thanks again, guys. I will be back next week, God willing, with another photo editing stream. I'll be back Sunday for our normal photo chat and Tuesday for shopping. So I hope to see you guys again soon. Have a good weekend.